The Dallas Cowboys' latest matchup against the Houston Texans turned into a disaster of epic proportions, leaving fans stunned and frustrated. The Texans, who came into the game as underdogs, handed the Cowboys a blowout loss, exposing weaknesses across the roster. But the loss wasn't the only issue. Several key players suffered injuries, threatening to derail the Cowboys' season before it really gets going. Let's dive into what went wrong. The Cowboys started the game looking flat, and it didn't take long for the Texans to seize control. Houston's rookie quarterback C.J. Stroud played with confidence beyond his years, dissecting the Cowboys' defense with precision passes and smart decision-making. The Cowboys' secondary, which was supposed to be a strength this season, looked outmatched and unprepared. Stroud connected with multiple receivers for big plays, leaving the Cowboys scrambling to adjust. On the offensive side, things were even worse for Dallas. Quarterback Dak Prescott faced relentless pressure from the Texans' defensive line, leading to poor decision-making and 2 costly interceptions. The offensive line struggled to protect him, and the running game was virtually non-existent. Tony Pollard, expected to be a cornerstone of the offense, was limited to just a handful of effective runs as the Texans' defense consistently clogged running lanes. By halftime, the Texans had a commanding 31-3 lead, and the Cowboys looked shell-shocked. The final score, Texans 37, Cowboys 10, only tells part of the story. This wasn't just a bad day at the office, it was a complete unraveling. The Cowboys entered this game with high expectations, and losing in such a lopsided fashion to a rebuilding team like Houston is a hard pill to swallow. But the loss itself wasn't the most alarming part of the night. What's truly concerning is the growing list of injuries that could have a long-lasting impact on the Cowboys season. First and foremost, Tyler Smith, one of Dallas's most promising young offensive linemen, left the game early with a hamstring injury. The team hasn't released official details yet, but initial reports suggest he could miss several weeks. His absence would leave a massive hole on the left side of the line, forcing the Cowboys to rely on backups who aren't nearly as reliable. Then there's Zack Martin, the all-pro guard, who has been a cornerstone of this offensive line for years. Martin sustained an ankle injury in the second quarter and had to be helped off the field. He tried to return, but was clearly in pain and ultimately couldn't continue. Early indications point to a high ankle sprain, a notoriously difficult injury that often requires weeks and sometimes months of recovery. Losing Martin for any length of time would be devastating for Dallas, as his presence is critical to both pass protection and the running game. Adding to the woes is Tyron Smith, the veteran left tackle who has struggled with injuries over the past few seasons. Smith aggravated a knee issue that had already been bothering him and was forced to sit out much of the second half. While his status remains uncertain, it's clear that he isn't 100%, and any additional missed time would further weaken an already depleted offensive line. The Cowboys' offensive line has been a key strength of the team for years, but with these injuries, that strength is quickly turning into a glaring weakness. Without Smith, Martin, and Smith anchoring the line, Dak Prescott will face even more pressure in the pocket, and the running game will suffer significantly. The Cowboys' depth on the offensive line has been a concern for some time, and now it's being tested in the worst possible way. This game, and its aftermath, also raise serious questions about the Cowboys' ability to contend in a competitive NFC East. The Philadelphia Eagles are playing at an elite level, and the New York Giants are proving to be a tough, resilient team. If Dallas can't stabilize its offensive line and improve its overall performance, it's hard to see them keeping pace in the division race. The schedule doesn't get any easier either, with upcoming games against powerhouse teams like the San Francisco 49ers and the Miami Dolphins. Those defenses will undoubtedly exploit the Cowboys' weaknesses if changes aren't made quickly. Fans and analysts alike are voicing their frustrations, and social media is buzzing with criticism of the Cowboys' performance. Many are calling for immediate changes, whether it's adjustments to the coaching staff or roster moves to address the injuries. Some fans are even questioning the leadership of head coach Mike McCarthy, arguing that the team's lack of preparation and inability to adjust during the game falls squarely on his shoulders. While it's easy to point fingers, the reality is that the Cowboys are dealing with a perfect storm of issues. The injuries to key players, combined with poor execution on both sides of the ball, have created a crisis that requires immediate attention. The coaching staff will need to adapt the game plan to account for the weakened offensive line. This could mean incorporating quicker passes to neutralize opposing pass rushes, using more screenplays, or relying heavily on Tony Pollard to grind out tough yards on the ground. The front office also has a role to play. With the trade deadline approaching, Jerry Jones and the Cowboys management may need to explore options for bolstering the offensive line. Whether it's signing a free agent or making a trade, finding experienced players who can step in and contribute right away could be the difference between salvaging the season and watching it spiral out of control. Leadership within the locker room will also be crucial. This is the time for veterans like Dak Prescott and Micah Parsons to step up and rally the team. Prescott, in particular, needs to show that he can lead under adversity. He has the talent and experience, but now more than ever, he needs to prove that he can elevate his game and inspire confidence in his teammates. Despite the challenges, it's important to remember that the season isn't over yet. The Cowboys still have a talented roster and plenty of time to turn things around. While this loss to the Texans is a major setback, it can also serve as a wake-up call. If the team can learn from their mistakes and address their weaknesses, they still have the potential to compete at a high level. For now, though, Cowboys Nation is left to wonder, is this just a rough patch, or are we watching the beginning of yet another disappointing season? The next few weeks will provide the answer. One thing is certain, there's no room for error moving forward. The Cowboys must regroup, refocus, and find a way to rise above these challenges. If they don't, this season could slip away before it truly begins. What do you think, Cowboys fans? Can Dallas bounce back from this embarrassing loss and the growing list of injuries, or is it time to start worrying about the future? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates. And as always, keep the faith. Go Cowboys!